Welcome to Doron Yoga, everyone. Today we're going to work on a hip sequence. It's going to be a Doron Yoga Vinyasa with some options for a little more challenging poses. So really practice just what feels reasonable for you. Let's come to the hands and knees. We're going to start with Delicious Pose, which is fantastic to warm up the hips, the lower back, and really moving in circles to one direction. And if you feel like adding shoulder and head movement, please go ahead. Really try to bring fluidity into the body, switching directions if you haven't done so already. Really be generous with your movement. Let your body slowly start to warm up, especially your hip area. Good. Eventually coming back to center. Keep your hips over the knees and walk your hands forward for downward puppy. Allow your head to come down to the ground. If it reaches the ground, bring your chin to the ground for a little more intensity. And then bring your hands to the top of the mat. Tuck the toes under and make your way to Adho Mukha Svanasana, the downward facing dog. We'll warm up a little bit by bending one knee at a time. So when you bend the knee, just exhale into the straight leg. Feel the stretch and then slowly switch sides and go for the other leg. Keeping your breath alive and try to keep your mind steady and focused as you're practicing. So you're really present with your movement and with your breath and with your gaze. Right. Eventually bring both heels towards the earth and take the right leg up to the sky. We're going to right away open up the hips, so bending the knee and take a couple of ankle rotations. And straighten the leg, and as you exhale, bring the knee to the nose. Inhale back to the sky. Exhale across and inhale back to the sky. Exhale over towards the right side. Bend the elbows for a second and back to the sky. Bring the right foot forward between the hands, the left knee down, and lower the hips down. You're welcome to stay here with the hands on the ground, or if it feels reasonable for you, you're welcome to bring the hands up either to the knee or eventually even placing them on the hips. So we were moving a little faster earlier. It's pretty warm where I was practicing. This was in Israel, so I was moving a little faster, but then giving time to stay, to balance that yang practice with yin, and really sinking into the hips. We're opening especially the psoas, the hip flexors of the front left thigh. We're going to stay a little longer and open some more. So we're going to take the left hand to the ground and start to open your shoulder, your right shoulder over to the right side. So sink the hips even further. Allow your right knee to start to move over to the right side. Open your chest. Really, really, really feel heavy, especially on the left side of the hips. Remember to breathe. We're doing a few of these stay a little longer poses, so really breathe through them. Let's go take our vinyasa. Take the right leg back. Either take a full vinyasa or just lower down with the knees down to chaturanga. Open up to a baby cobra, and then take it back to downward dog just to warm up. Good news, you guys. Let's do the left side. Left leg comes up. And then bending the hips, bending the knee, opening the hips. Take a few ankle rotations. Breathing. Right. Straightening the left leg behind you as you exhale. Bring the knee forward and towards the nose. Inhale, back to the sky. Exhale, come across over to the right elbow. Inhale, back. Exhale, left knee over to the left elbow with the option of bending the elbows. Take it back and then bring the left foot forward between the hands. Lower the right knee down. We're going again for a variation of Anjaneyasana, of low lunge. Bring the hands to the knee or eventually up to the hip. Keeping the hips heavy down towards the ground. Again, stretching the front right side of the thigh this time. The psoas of the right leg, the hip flexors. And at the same time that the hips are sinking heavy to the ground. Use your breath, and with every inhale, lift a bit in the chest, lengthen a bit in the spine, and with the exhales, relax the shoulders, relax the face, the eyes. Great, let's go take it to the variation. So we're going to Bring the right hand to the ground and open the left knee a bit to the side. Sinking deeply and slowly opening up the upper left side of the body. Breathe. A few more breaths. Really allow it to open. Remember that, with the hips it takes time. There's never like pushing right away to 100%, at least for me. It's slowly, right? With the breath I allow it to keep opening. Here we go. Step it back. Lower down to Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog, chest comes through the arms, and then back to downward facing dog. Breathing here. And so as we practice with the hips, we're really allowing a lot of stuff to come up beyond just opening physically the hips. We're opening the area of the first 3 chakras. Right foot comes forward between the hands, left leg super strong. Really press that back leg again, sinking into the hips, and try to keep the hips low as you come up to high lunge. Right, so it's the first 3 chakras. A lot of emotions are stored there, a lot of things related to our basic needs, to our sexuality. And so we really got to be patient with this, and then really, on the other hand, allow softness, allow things to open. Hands down to the ground, step it back. Chaturanga Dandasana, inhale, open the heart, and exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Left leg, here we go, left foot between the hands, right leg really strong. Keep the hips low, elongate the spine, and then try to come up with that long spine and the hips low. Anjaneyasana, low lunge, and stay and breathe. If you can, bring the hands together. If you're feeling steady, take the gaze up. Keep sinking in the hips. Keep tucking slightly the tailbone down and reaching powerfully with the arms, as at the same time your shoulders relaxing. Slow and steady exhale all the way down to Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale. Activate the legs and open the chest. Look slightly up. Exhale. Downward facing doggy. Bring the right foot forward. Bring the left foot forward. And then instead of forward folding, just bend and sit into a squat. Yep, it is hip day. So I'm sitting down as low as I can with the hips, but I'm still trying to lengthen in my spine. And then as I exhale, I'm going to try to straighten the legs and forward fold, just wherever it feels good for you, holding the elbows, and take a few breaths to really allow the spine to lengthen some more, right? Head reaches down towards the ground. There's not a lot of doing. It's a lot of surrendering, a lot of just allowing. And then we'll go back down. Bend the knees and lower your hips down to the ground. Straighten the legs again, forward fold, and back down to the squat. And straighten, let the head drop. And back down to the squat. And straighten again, hips to the sky, head down towards the ground. Breathe another deep breath here. Great, and then we're going to slowly bend the knees and roll up to standing. Awesome, you guys. Take a moment, breathe, readjust your legs, bring the feet together. And we're going to open the right foot to the right side for Konasana, the triangle pose. So take the arms up, reach them far forward, and then take the right arm down towards wherever it reaches, right? It doesn't matter. Maybe it reaches down towards the ankle, maybe it's higher up on the leg. Open the left arm to the sky. If possible, look up towards your left hand. Keep the drishti, the gaze, steady, and then inhale. Come up. Switching to the other side, reach way forward, left hand down, right arm up, and look up towards the upper hand if possible. Keep the bandhas working, the belly is slightly in, and really keep opening up the upper part of your chest. Inhale, come back up. We're just going to simply parallel the feet here. We're going right into Prasarita Padottanasana. Hands on the hips, inhale, lengthen. And with an exhale, forward fold. Take the hands down if possible between the legs. Inhale, elongate the spine. And exhale, forward fold, hands towards the earth. Right? You're welcome to stay here, pressing the heel of the hand down to allow a little more length in the spine, to allow the head to come a little further towards the ground. Remember, if your head is all the way on the ground and it just feels like you're doing nothing, narrow your stance a little bit so you have what to work towards. Right? Though the pose eventually is head to the ground, I like to start an inch away from the ground so that throughout my breathing you can see how my back has elongated and now my head managed to touch the ground at the end of the practice. If it never does, that's fine too, of course. Come halfway up and then bending the right knee and lower the hips down, right? You may be a little further up, you may be dropping down, maybe your heel is up, maybe down, it doesn't really matter. Keep working on opening up the chest, mostly towards the left side, and your hands can either stay on the ground or if you have a bind, take the bind. Remember, it doesn't really matter how far you go, but that you're kind of feeling the stretch, that you're comfortable in the pose, and that you stay focused. Releasing slowly, you can either bring the hands to the heart or to the ground in order to shift to the other side. And again, maybe your heel is up, that's perfectly okay. Maybe you can lower the heel down. You can keep the hand, your left arm, pressing against the left knee to help open it up. And then maybe one day you take the bind. Keep pressing open that left knee towards the left and open the right shoulder up to the sky, maybe even looking up towards the right side. And breathe. Remember, always we're staying here, and the more we deepen our exhales, the more our hips will relax and release. A lot of emotional release. We'll play around and you can try and move from side to side a few times. You're welcome again to use the hands on the ground, or if you can, hands at the heart. Pressing, using your legs, using your core. Keep moving from one side to another and then eventually come back to the center to about Prasarita distance. Hands back to the hips and inhale, come all the way up to standing. Bring your arms up to a T and then clasp your fingers behind the back. As you inhale, lengthen the spine, and as you exhale, forward fold. So again, here we find this combo of really a little work, but mostly releasing. So the arms are pressing a little bit towards the ground, but mostly they're just really allowing kind of gravity and their own little weight to do the work. You can see my head is almost at the ground. Oops, now it's touching the ground. But I started a little further, and that helped me take away some of the curve of my spine and really lengthen the spine. And so it's kind of a balance, a little bit lengthening in the spine, a little bit letting the arms come towards the ground. Okay, great. Then we're going to come a little bit up, take the hands away from the back, bring them to the ground, and we're going to go for some twisting. So you can start option 1, right hand to the ground, left arm to the sky. Option 2, wrap the left arm behind the back, go take your inner thigh. Option 16, reach your right arm towards the left ankle. Option 79, right elbow towards the ground. Option 600, try to bring your face towards your left knee, left thigh to deepen the stretching here. Notice that as much as I'm bringing my face towards the leg, I was still working on lengthening the spine. Good news, you guys. Here we go. We got a second side. So this time left hand down, right arm either on the sacrum or maybe up to the sky, really working on opening both shoulders and twisting. If that feels good and you want to go a little further, wrap behind the back, try to take your inner thigh, and again, left hand can either go towards the left side, maybe holding the ankle, eventually left elbow towards the sky, towards the ground, which will deepen the twist and the stretch, and the face will move over towards the right leg. Okay, again, don't forget to breathe. So even as this may be intense, try to always stay calm in the face, calm in all the parts of the body that are not needing to work. Coming back to center, inhale, come halfway up, pause, and then inhale again all the way up and come back to the front of your mat. Take a breath or two to realign, refocus. And then we're going to go and do some balance pose, which of course will take cappuccino pose because that helps open the hips as well. So I'm bringing the right ankle over the right thigh, right over the knee, and then lowering the hips down while keeping the chest open. So again, just lower your hips as far back and down as you can so that you're not bringing the front knee, the standing leg knee, too far forward. It doesn't come far beyond the ankle. Good. That's it, and we're staying there for a while. Coming up, releasing Nadia Comaneci style, which simply means we're releasing really nice, slow, and with control. All of our transitions are always focused and slow. We're switching sides, left ankle on top, and this time lowering the hips back and down, chest is up, gaze is steady, belly is slightly tucked in, and breath is deep. And again, you can lower your hips as far as feels reasonable for you. For some of us, it'll be just a tiny bit. Some of us will lower down literally like we're having a seat to drink our cappuccinos. Great. Here we go. Slowly up. Again, knee forward, releasing with controls. That's the bandhas helping us here. And releasing, taking a deep breath, keeping the mind calm and steady. We're going to bend the knees deeply and we're going to reach for Utkatasana. So the hips, just like in cappuccino, lower down, maybe slightly less than cappuccino. The belly is in, the arms are reaching up, gaze goes up, breath. Legs are strong. The drishti, the gaze towards the hand, helps us stay focused, helps us stay present. Exhale slowly, forward fold, all the way down, hands down to the ground, head towards the shins. Take a breath here, and then inhale, lengthen the spine, bend the knees, and step or jump back, your choice. Lower down, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, the upward facing dog. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, the downward facing dog. Great, breathe. Heels still towards the ground, and then bring the right foot forward. We're going right into what I call hippolicious, or sometimes people call it lizard pose. The hands are on the ground, the back knee is on the ground, and the front leg, the right knee, you can keep the foot on the ground, or if possible, open it towards the right side, so you're on the edge of the right foot. And then you're going to lower down as far as feels comfortable. Maybe you lower the elbows to a block. Maybe the elbows all the way down to the ground. Maybe you're all the way down to the ground and that's easy. And if you noticed, I've moved my back leg further back, which creates a lot more intensity. Try to keep your hips parallel. Don't fall onto one side. You can see there it's pretty flat. And then if all that's easy, lower your head all the way down. More than anything, practice deep exhales. Again, really deepening the exhales helps us activate the parasympathetic system, helps us relax everything. When we're really relaxed, also our hips open a lot faster, a lot quicker. It's the art of doing nothing, the art of surrendering. Come up part way. Take your right arm or under. It's like you're threading it, though there's no thread really. It goes over to the left side. And as your right shoulder goes, maybe it's the elbow, maybe it's the shoulder towards the ground, you can even use your left hand on the ground to press a little bit so that it helps you deepen the twist, as if before was not enough, right? And then we're going to do one more little tricky here. We're moving into the Pigeon Pose, the Ekapada Rajkapotasana prep. Inhale, create a lot of length. Let your hips sink as far down as you can. Remember that your right foot can be close to the hips. That's perfectly fine. Only if it's easy, pull the right foot further out. That will definitely intensify the stretch. And then from there, start to lower down, right? I've lowered first to the elbows with a long spine, and then I've lowered all the way down. But I try to not collapse right away. Once I found my pose, then I can surrender. Then there's no more need to try and lengthen anymore or fix anything. Really, really, really allow a sense of doing nothing. Okay? And then when you're there, if you need to adjust a bit, adjust, but other than that, stay and breathe. And really listen to the sound of your breath. Ujjayi breath, going through the nose, passing through the throat, creating a soft sound. If you want to have even more intensity, place your right hand on your right leg, right thigh, and press so that you're opening a little bit the right shoulder towards the sky. Notice your gaze, try to keep it soft and steady. Where is your mind? Can you stay present with your breath? Maybe with the intensity of the pose, doesn't matter. As long as you're here right now without any added judgment, just practice. Practice the art of being here, the art of accepting things exactly as they are. Okay, we're going to lift back up and we're going to practice stretching a little deeper into our quads, into this quadalicious pose that may actually go more into the psoas eventually, depending how low you lower your hips. So I've bent the back leg, the left foot, taken it with my left hand, and then I'm bringing it way forward as far as is reasonable for you. Try to keep the foot alongside the body. You can see my hand peeking out there. Doesn't matter, as usual, how far you go. Just try to stay in a place where you can breathe deeply. It helps to keep the bandhas active, to keep the pelvic floor lifted for stability. Good. The release part, whew. Now this is the fun part, right? So I'm coming out, you can see I'm moving it a little bit forward and I'm taking big circles with my right leg to both kind of enjoy all this hip mobility, to create some movement, create some warmth, and also to create some heat and some strength in the hip area after it's been stretched so much. You can do it like I've done it with the knee down, or you can do it in downward dog with straight legs, or the combo of both. So just important to kind of release after we do these long holds. Great. After a breath or two in downward dog, I've got some super good news for you guys. Yep, here we go. Left side, right? We're starting with the hippalicious, yummy, yummy in my hips, the lizard pose. Notice I've got my left foot forward. I'm on the edge of the left foot, and then taking my time, right? I didn't rush right down into it. I stayed up, moved a tiny bit to create warmth and to really release in that area. Then I've lowered to my elbows, which maybe you didn't. Maybe you stayed up. Maybe you're on a block. And then I'm lengthening my spine a little bit, and slowly I'm starting to lower even further, right? So this is where you stay present and listen to your body. Maybe your body tells you, hey dude, stay, don't go anywhere. Maybe it says, wow, it's time, you can go further. And it usually happens the more you allow it to happen. The hips are the seat of our emotional being, from the area of our basic needs of knowing that we feel safe, that we have shelter, that we have a roof over our head, that we have food to eat, to the place of creativity, sensuality, and sexuality. And so many of us hold tightness there, or holding some things from the past, or not releasing, or not free. And it's really important that when we're here, we allow ourselves to relax as much as possible, to free ourselves from any past holdings. And we're doing it both by just simply surrendering the mind, as well as by allowing the hips to open physically. I've taken the mini little twist here, so if you want, thread your left arm over and press your right hand on the ground to open up a little more. Again, this is really like a super duper very optional thing. Most of us will not need to do this. I'm doing this as it really helps me go a little deeper into my hips, but it feels good, so there's no making faces while I'm doing that. Just as we think it's all over, I'm shifting to the pigeon pose. So again, setting up, you can see I've started with the foot really close to the hips, letting my hips drop down. That felt good. Now I've moved it out, which again, maybe you don't. I'm finding the place where, okay, my hips are still moving towards the ground. I've opened, let them sink a little more. You can see I'm breathing. I think I'm even smiling there. Oh boy. And then I'm going down, right? Can you do it from a place of joy, of happiness, not of like, oh my God, I hate this, or my hips are so tight, right? That will help them stay tight. You need to release in your mind, come from a place of gratitude and happiness, and that helps you suddenly move the foot a little forward, because you're coming from a place that allows the hips, that allows your emotions to just be free, just be okay, right? And I'm taking my time playing with it because hey, the foot keeps coming out. It doesn't happen like this every day. Some days I'm luckier than others. Maybe this just feels good day. So respect where you are today and not how you were yesterday or 6 years ago or when you were a 6-year-old ballerina, of course, right? Really respect. Because the hips, I call them patience poses. Right? You have to kind of just be there, surrender, surrender, surrender. You fight your hips, it's like makes it worse. So here we go. Let's take a few more breaths here. Take an inhale, and then try to take a really long, slow exhale through the nose. Feel your shoulders relax, your fingers, your toes. When you're ready, exhale again, really slow, maybe even as you exhale, feel your hips softening, surrendering towards the ground. If you want to deepen a little further, you can just kind of try and get the hips one way or another further down to the ground. I'm just pressing with my left hand a little bit down, but I'm still pretty comfy. I even have my head resting on my arm. Find what works for you. It's okay to play around and to explore your body, your way of practicing. And then it's all over. Well, kind of. We're coming out, we're coming up, and we're bending the right knee to stretch the quads so as to get some quadalicious. So again, just start to bring it, and it may just come by only a bit. That is okay. Please be okay with where you are. If it is fine, flip the fingers to face forward in the same directions as the toes, and then just come and allow the foot to come wherever it is. Notice that I'm also opening the chest while doing that, right? There's no collapse. So the hips are down, chest is lifting up, shoulders away from the ears, and here we go. Let's release. Okay. So we're going to come back to the tabletop or to all fours and take some circles, or maybe even start with just forward and back. Really listen here. You got to listen to your body. When you're ready, you can go ahead and do the circles to each direction with the left knee out to the side. And then I like to sometimes do it also in downward dog with straight leg. It's more intense, it's more strengthening, but maybe you stay with the first version, just with the knees down. That's perfectly awesome. Okay, downward doggy. And take a breath or two. Notice your gaze. Let's take a vinyasa. Lower down, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Coming to the front of the mat, you can step. Well, I just walked, I didn't jump. And have a seat for Baddha Konasana, bound angle pose. Open up your feet, right feet together, knees to the side, like you're going to read a book, and then forward fold. Remember, the forward folding doesn't mean you're going all the way down. It means you're going till wherever you can. And once you're there, of course, surrender into the pose. Some of us can't go all the way down or even just a little bit. We're in slumpasana or the knees are too far high. In that case, just sit on a block, elevate your hips. That'll really help to tilt the hips a little forward and create more space. We want to always feel the hips here. We never want to feel the knees. Let's slowly come out of the pose, and we're going to go for some more hipalicious on our spine. So lay down slowly with control onto your back. We'll thread the needle. Right knee comes over left thigh just below the knee. Right hand wraps into that little space between your legs and holds either the shin, or if that's too far away, hold the thigh. And then work on bringing the left thigh closer to your chest. Try to keep your tailbone somewhat down towards the ground, especially if it gets easy. And keep breathing here. This will slowly warm up. We'll stay here for a while. Only if that was easy for you, really only if that's easy, lower the left foot to the ground. Take hold of your right foot and bring your right foot to the forehead. Right? I was touching my third eye there. If you can touch your third eye, then move your right knee a little bit to the side and take the right shoulder over the leg, or the leg under the shoulder. For a lot of us, this is already juga wuga, intensi. If it is intense, please stay there, right? Only move on if it feels pretty reasonable and there's not a lot of pressure. Eventually, the foot will go behind the head, and if that is easy, straighten the left leg, which will intensify. So I'm taking it more or less behind the head, and then I've worked on straightening the leg. Over time, it'll straighten more. And sometimes at the beginning, when I used to take it behind the head, I used to hold the leg behind because it was kind of like just way too much. As that gets easy enough, you can let go of that. You can reach your arm forward and press your straight leg so it goes further down, or just keep the hands at the heart, whatever is good for you. If you stayed at the previous variation, I hope you're enjoying it and still breathing. Remember to take slightly longer exhalations than inhalations to activate your parasympathetic system, to allow your stress mechanism to relax, to tell your body that it's safe, there's no tigers coming after you. And then, as safe as it feels, the hips will, of course, surrender quicker. Release the leg. Take some movements in the hip and knees, whatever feels really good for you, before we do the second side. Yippity yep, setting up, left foot on right thigh, holding the shin, the knee, or just the thigh. And we'll slowly get into the pose. Remember, stay and try to stay steady, right? I tend to move a little bit too deep in the pose, but other than that, try not to fidget too much. Sometimes when we stay longer in a pose, it gets a little discomfort. We get a little discomfort in the mind, more so than the body even. There's this, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Do I need to check my emails? How about some food? See if you can really just hang out, enjoy it. For those that need to go further, again, release the right foot to the ground, take the left foot, toes touching the third eye. If that works, then work on the leg behind the head. Remember to respect the body, don't go strong on this. I've managed to hurt my lower back here, and I've seen people hurt their knee when they went into this pose prematurely. So again, this should feel really reasonable when you're doing it. There shouldn't be a lot of pain. Otherwise, stay in the first variation or the second variation. Don't go all the way to leg behind the head. You should be able to stretch your lips to the ears here, which in English translates as smile. Right? If you can't smile, you've gone too far. Find a place where it's stretching, but also at the same time feels good. A few more breaths. Keeping the mind steady. Can you hear the sound of your breath? If the leg is behind the head is pressing slightly down on the leg to hold it there and to open. And then let's come out, release. Again, take the knees a bit from side to side, just to release a bit in the hips, move around. And we will go to the happy baby. Not to take ourselves too seriously. If you want, straighten the legs into a Supta Upavishta Konasana, right? A couple of breaths there, and then come back onto your back, onto your spine. We'll take a twist to release all this, wrapping the right leg over the left. I've got full eagle legs there. You don't have to go the full way. Move your hips a little bit to the right and your knees go to the left. This will help. If you lift up your head, you will see that your hips should be more or less in the same line as your head. Trying to keep your right shoulder to the ground as much as you can. Not an easy task, but I start with the shoulder down and only then take the knees down. So the knees have an easier time to come down, and if the shoulder is already down, it's more likely it will stay close to the earth. The gaze goes towards the right shoulder. As the head turns that way, it helps the shoulder stay down, and it helps give you a full twist in your spine from the neck through the back all the way down to the hips. How's your breathing? I won't tell you anymore to deepen your exhales. Hopefully by now you got that, especially in poses where we stay yin-like, where we hold. Come out, switch sides. This time the left wraps over the right. Hips move a little bit over to the left side. The gaze goes over to the left arm. The knees go down towards the right. You can have the right hand resting on the ground or resting on the knees to give them a tiny bit more weight so they can come down a little further. Try to keep your gaze, your drishti, steady. Doesn't matter really what you're looking at. In this case, we're going over to the left side. And the idea is just to really keep it steady. This helps steady the mind. And when the drishti wanders, many times the mind wanders as well. And most of our yoga practice is training the mind. Even when we open our hips, we're opening and releasing stuck emotions to help the mind be more free. Slowly, slowly, start to release, come back up. Okay, so hug the knees into the chest for a moment. Give yourself a yummy, yummy, yummy huggy, huggy, lovey. And then we'll prepare for shoulder stand. So maybe move your hips a little forward on the mat and come up to your Salamba Sharvangasana. Roll the shoulders under to protect your neck. Place the hands on the lower back. Walk the elbows closer in as much as you can. And then take a breath. And we're going to continue with some hip playfulness. So open up your legs wide, right? Open up your legs as wide as they'll go. And just stay there and breathe in this variation of shoulder stand. Then we're going to try and go helicoptering the legs. So we're kind of twisting the hips a little bit from side to side, just once or twice to each direction. And come back to the wide-legged shoulder stand. Upavishta Konasana in Salamba Sharvangasana. Bring the legs back up and either take your knees to the side, feet together in Baddha Konasana style, or if you have the lotus, then take the legs and fold them in, and then support your back and try to bring the knees towards the chest, towards the belly, maybe even towards the head. Some people like to wrap the arms around the legs, ashtanga style. I'm holding my back here a little more to really allow the legs to go further down and keep length in the spine. Great. We're going to slowly come back up, either from your lotus or upavishta. Straighten the legs, and then we'll take them over the head into halasana pose. So arms can go down towards the ground if possible. Clasp the hands, bring them towards the mat. Lengthen the spine. Legs are long, and then eventually we're going to bend the knees to Karna Pidasana and bring the knees towards the ears. Feet come as close as possible together. Maintain your breath and take one more breath here, and then we're going to slowly make our way down. So release the clasp of the hands. The hands are on the ground, slowing down your movement as you try to come down, if possible, with straight legs to kind of use your core. Going right into a variation of Matsyasana, or really we're going to go into Uttana Padasana. Sometimes people call it fish, but this is a different variation, a different pose. The chest is up, we prop up onto the elbows, head down, And then either stay there in a fish, or if possible, legs up and hands up in the air. Just take a few breaths there. Then lower everything down to the ground, and bring the knees into the chest for a big hug to balance that little bit of a back bend. Okay? And then here comes the good part. Just move around a tiny bit to make sure everything is released. If you need a last little supine twist, a twist on your back, take the legs to each side and breathe in each side a few breaths. Eventually, get yourself ready for Shavasana, right? You've done a lot of opening, a lot of hip opening, and it's really nice to let this integrate. So instead of getting up, running away, take a moment or two and really allow yourself to sink. Allow yourself to be heavy to the ground. Palms facing up, neck is long, feet relaxed, maybe they fall a bit towards the side. And let your hips be heavy towards the earth, almost like you can imagine them melting away, like your hips started off as good dark chocolate and now they were slightly warmed up and heated and they're going to just melt into the earth. Shoulders are soft and relaxed. The belly just moves calmly with the breath. No need to even try to breathe. No need to do anything special at all. Right? It's called corpse pose, Shavasana, for a reason. It's the pose where we just allow things to be exactly as they are. No control whatsoever of anything. Just surrender. When you allow yourself to die completely right now within your life, you're actually giving yourself the freedom to live fully when you get up. Only when you learn to release control completely can you have the freedom to have control when you actually need it. Slowly bring your consciousness back to the body. As you find that openness in the hips, remind yourself, what is it you still need to do to take care of yourself, to be more vulnerable, to be more available for life? And with that intention, slowly start to bring the knees up, roll onto your right side, and then slowly we're going to make our way back to a seated position, any comfortable seated position. Feel free to stay here and meditate a little longer if you like. And otherwise, I'm going to just say thank you so much for your practice and dedication. Remember to subscribe to the channel. You can also check out doronyoga.com. There's a lot more articles beyond the videos that's really worthwhile, including retreats, teacher trainings, and the like. And leave me a comment. What else would you want to see? Happy to do what you need. Thanks again. Love you all. Namaste.